think research has a really important part to play in helping churches and church leaders in particular think about how they're going to do mission and ministry into the future. We hear a lot of statistics and sometimes they're not happy reading, but I think statistics and research has to be our friend. We need to understand the world the way it is in order that we can engage with it in a proper and effective way. I was on the train here today reading a report of a survey from Harvard University that had showed that people who go to church actually live longer. Now that the research was very keen to point out that that doesn't prove that God exists, but it's an important fact that there do seem to be benefits that people receive from being members of churches.
What has your own research shown about what works and doesn't work in terms of practice?
I think the most interesting research is research that tells you things you really didn't expect. A few years ago I was working on a paper about people who pray, and I'd expected to find that people who prayed more probably spent less time developing social networks. And what I found, no matter what I did to try to find otherwise, I kept finding the more people pray, the stronger the social networks they were building. And that had a very practical implication. At that time, I was heavily involved in recruiting clergy to work in parishes. And often the parish were divided between those who wanted someone who would teach them to pray more and somebody who would help them to form relationships in their community better. And my own research helped me to realise these were not opposed to each other, that a priest who'd be good at one would probably be good at the other one as well. And the fellowship, the congregation would grow in both aspects.
We read a lot at the moment about church decline. Do you think the church is in inexorable decline, or is there hope?
I'm a natural optimist. I always think the glass is half full. And when I look even at my own Diocese of Manchester, I see that the number of people who are engaged in lay and ordained ministries is probably more than any previous bishop of Manchester have had. The numbers in congregations on Sunday may not be as large as they were in previous generations, but in terms of active engagement in mission and in ministry, the 180 people I was celebrating with yesterday who were part of our Winter Night Shelter volunteer programme over these last few months, people who are involved in the food banks, the street pastors, who are involved in study groups, in different aspects of ministry and mission in their parishes. Those numbers, I think, have never been bigger.